Welcome to the Office Latte Podcast, where we go beyond the boardroom to explore new conversations on life and career. I'm Erin Kennedy, CEO of Professional Resume Services and wife, mother, sister, daughter, aunt, and friend. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back to a mini episode with a Q&A. Summer, let's jump into the quickfire questions.
Question 1, where should I list my skills on my resume?
List them at the top, right below the career summary.
Love it. Where should I have, or should I even have, a photo on my resume?
It depends on your profession and what you do. In the United States, we don't typically add a photo.
Question 3, can my resume be 2 pages long when I have 10 plus years of experience?
Definitely. With 10 years, a lot has happened in that 10 years, a lot of accomplishments, a lot of responsibilities, for sure.
Awesome. Okay, question 4, can I use ChatGPT to write my resume?
If you want your resume to sound like everybody else's, then sure.
Perfect answer.
That needs to be a long one. That needs to be a longer one.
Yeah. We'll have to go. We'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah.
Okay, question 5, last of our quickfires. Should I focus on a ton of jobs in my job search or just focus in on a few really strong places?
Always keep it focused and targeted. You don't want to spread yourself too thin, and having 20 different versions of your resume. Just keep it focused on 1 to 2 different job titles, things that you're looking at.
Okay.
For positions.
I'm going to add one extra. Do you like the quick apply or whatever, easy apply on LinkedIn?
Not a fan, because there's so much that's left out. You're only given, so much space to, it's just adding, it's a quick thing. You're not being able to get into like your personality and more of your skill set and your training and your accomplishments. So
yeah,
I get it. I get the appeal, but not a fan.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to be jumping into kind of deeper resume questions that readers have sent in, readers and listeners. Okay. Number 1 is, what makes an executive resume different from a regular one? What truly elevates an executive resume?
The language. It's the content. It's kind of, you don't need, in any resume, you don't need flowery, fluffy stuff, but especially in executive resumes, it's all focused on your leadership skills, your, ROI. It's more focused on managing teams and budgeting and all kinds of different things where there's just more responsibility. So it just has a whole different feel. So your language has to match that. It has to be senior level. It has to, so that's really the difference that we see.
Nice. Okay. Number 2, how do you confidently address a job gap on your resume or in an interview? I think this one's super relatable for people.
I love tackling this one because so many people stress about it. Honestly, I think since the pandemic, it feels like companies don't really care about that as much. Just because, during the pandemic, there was just job gaps and now people have to care for aging parents, or they have to take time off to move. We just worked with somebody a couple weeks ago. He had to take some time off to move his parents from an assisted living in a different state to be closer to him, so, and I think that more companies are becoming more understanding about little job gaps. If it was 10 years, then yeah, it needs to be addressed. But if it's a few months, 6 months or a year, I think you can do 1 sentence in your cover letter, took time off to care for aging parents, to have my child, blah, 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 eager to get back into the workplace. Something simple like that.
What if it's something that is, say, mental health related, or something they just don't want to share with their employer, at least not yet?
They don't need to know.
Okay.
You don't need to tell them at all. Nobody needs to know. It's your business. If you feel like sharing, but I really wouldn't. I wouldn't, I would just keep it. If you took some time off for mental health, you can say you took a sabbatical. You took professional development. Because a lot of people do that when they need a break or they learn something new, during that time off, even if they just sit and, reorganize their house or whatever. I've just heard of a lot of different things when people need a break. It's so re-energizing when you come back from time off, doing whatever it was that you were doing. And so you can just, list it as sabbatical.
Nice. Okay, I love that. Next question. How do I create a story on my resume when going after a job that's a big jump for me? So I think they meant maybe
Pivoting,
industry jump. Say that again.
pivoting. So
Yeah,
maybe
pivoting, I think is a good
you're
way of doing it.
transition, you're going from one thing to the next. Always focus on your transferable skills. See, really delve into that job description. See what the company is talking about a lot. See what that job description says over and over. And if you've got those skill sets, if you've got those skills, the things that you've been doing in your role, it'll be easy for you to transition into that next role. You're just going to focus on those things that you've done.
Yeah. What about, say, like a teacher wanting to go into project management? I feel like I hear that one a lot.
Yeah. And that one, actually, we've had quite a few of those. Or teaching going into sales, like say
Mm,
educational sales and things like that. It's a super easy transition. I mean, think of what teachers manage all day long. They have like the ultimate project management experience. So, we use a lot of those types of examples. Um, and of course, I mean, if you're going from teaching into some unrelated project management, you're going to want to get some sort of either a certificate or professional development of something so that you're showing that you've got some sort of experience or training in whatever it is that you're transitioning into.
I think, yeah, really finding the connection between the
And there's
two
so
and
many,
then
yeah.
emphasizing it.
And there's so many courses that you can take that aren't expensive. I mean, heck, there's those LinkedIn Learning ones where you can learn so much. So, I would take advantage of those and just get a couple of courses like that under your belt because then it's just going to make it a lot easier for you to transition.
Yeah. So on more of like the story conversation, the next question was how can you craft this story into your LinkedIn? But I think even greater is like what do you think is the best way to like prep this story as they're discussing? And I know you talk about this a lot, but like to say bring it into your LinkedIn, to bring it into your resume, and then bring it into that interview to kind of explain, okay, I'm coming into this new field and this is why it makes sense for me.
Well, with any story, you want what we love. A great way for us to help our clients get their stories is we talk about CAR stories. And I know I've mentioned this to you, but CAR stands for challenge, action, and results. So think of CAR stories that you've had. So let's just say we're going back to the pivoting, or even if we're just talking about anybody trying to talk about their story. Think about challenges that you faced and then what action you took to turn it around and then what were the results. And you'd be amazed at how quickly you will be able to come up with all these stories. A lot of times clients are like, "Ah, I don't know. I mean, I can't remember." But once we give them that homework, they're like, oh yeah, wow, I have all these things that they can tell us that helps us create and build their story. So it's really, when you look back on what you've done, you can really piece it together to become a story.
I love that. Yeah, and I think just writing all of like what you just said, the car challenge or the car example is so good because they can just do that and put it in a Word doc and then like practice that and then if they're and just use that essentially throughout the whole process.
Yeah,
Super helpful.
yeah,
Okay.
I love those. Yeah.
Yeah. Next question is I keep getting to the very end of the job search process and in the last round I get rejected. Why does this keep happening to me?
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh no.
there's lots of different reasons. I mean, it depends on. So, did this person say they were in the interview process a lot? Did you say?
Yeah, like they've been in the
Round.
interview process, they're
Okay.
in the job search, and they
Okay.
just keep getting rejected in the last round.
Ugh.
I
Well,
know.
I mean, it really boils down to the experience that you have. I know so many times clients were like, I was perfect for that role. But you have to keep in mind, sometimes some of these companies are getting in thousands or hundreds of applicants who have equally good qualifications. So it's just as hard for them to try to narrow it down as it is, it really is. I mean, they've got all these really qualified people. They're looking at these resumes, they're going over interview notes, and it really just boils down to, well, here's a quick tip. If you have a referral that that has maybe dropped your name, that usually wins every time. So, just having somebody on the inside is super helpful. So if you can apply somewhere where you do have somebody on the inside, make sure that they keep dropping your name. That is a huge step up. But aside from that, it's really just matching up requirements and your experience and what they need. It's also, they're going to look at you like, are you a fit with the company culture? Are you, do you fit in?
Mhm. I was
And
just thinking that, like what you said of finding if you have a referral, but if you don't have a referral, find a connection with the people
yeah,
you're interviewing with, whether
yeah,
like it could be where you live, your college you went to, a city you live in, anything that can kind of build that connection
yeah.
so that they
And
maybe just personality
LinkedIn,
wise like you too.
yeah, yeah. And LinkedIn's a great place to find those first and second and third connections, and also a great place to find alumni at your college, where you can reach out that way. I mean, I love LinkedIn for all those things, all the networking things, but networking and having an in is going to be going to help push you into that, yes category. But it really, and I mean, every time it does. But, and so you never know. I mean, the person that did get the role may have known somebody in the company.
True. Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. Okay. The next question is, I feel like I have to lie to even get my foot in the door on my resume. What do I do? Should I lie?
No, no, never lie. Lies grow feet and come back to find you. Very dear friend told me that once, that she told her kids that, and I was like, oh my God, that's so good. Because it's true. You hear all these huge CEOs of companies, and, that they find out that they didn't go to college or they didn't specialize in this, or, whatever. Lying isn't great, because sooner or later, your true colors are going to show, and they're going to say, wow, this person said that they had all this experience, and they just, they didn't. I know my husband always talks about that when he was managing a team of people. He always said, "Oh, these resumes, they were the stars, and then they come in, and they had to learn how to do everything." And so you definitely don't want to do that. I mean, I know those people didn't last long in his company, but um, you just want to be. And here's the thing. I mean, apply to the roles that really fit you, and then that way you don't have to lie. I mean, I get people want to move up in a role that you already know or that you're already really familiar with.
I love that. What about people who like really want to? I feel like a lot of people in certain maybe social circles, career circles, certain colleges, they feel like if they're not at like a top 10, company or the companies that we hear about every day, then like it's not a good company, which is 100% not true. What would you tell them who believe like I have to be at this shiny company, or like how do I get my foot into the door, at the big tech
Amazon
companies?
or
It's like
whatever, Google. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's personal preference. I mean, it doesn't matter if you are at some top company or, I mean, your skills and what you bring to the role, regardless of company, is what they want to see. I wouldn't worry that much about it. I know with a lot of our clients, they just want to work at a certain company. They want that experience there. They love what the company offers. They love the products or whatever. So, but as far as it's going to look great to have it on there, I mean, if that's your goal, then go for it. But it's not that important.
yeah, not a must have. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, some work-life balance questions. This one kind of like leads into that kind of job search frustration. Someone asked if I've been feeling really jaded about my job search. What should I do?
I feel your pain. This is a tough market. It is a really tough market right now, especially for executives. It's nobody's quitting. It's the employer market right now because they can pick and choose. So unlike 21 and 22 when it was like everybody was quitting and they could get a job anywhere and it was amazing, but it's definitely an employer market. So hang in there, keep applying, keep going after it. Take breaks if you need to. I mean, it's a frustrating time. But here's the other thing I always tell clients: you're going to find a job. You're going to find a new job. I think sometimes it's that feeling of, oh, I'm never going to get out of here, or if they're not employed, that it's the whole, I'm never going to get employed. I'm never going to be hired again. You will get hired. Everyone always gets hired. I haven't met anybody. I mean, unless they've had health issues or something that just wasn't able to get a job ever. You know what I mean? It might not be the perfect job that you want right now, but even getting into that role will eventually lead you so that when you're in a better place, you can start applying while you're in that role. to a different job, you
Yeah.
know?
I
Yeah.
think some people see that as not a good idea, but I think every now and then, if you've been in a job search for a while, it's not a terrible idea to like take a job that's maybe a little bit not what you exactly wanted, and then at least, if especially if you need the security financially or for your
Right.
family,
I mean, it's not
and then
ideal, but
yeah,
you got to do what you got to do, you know?
yeah, and
I
that's
mean,
like worst case
I would work
scenario.
at Taco Bell if I needed to, you know, I'm not,
Exactly.
I would happily work there. No.
Same. No, but I think that mindset of like lowering, honestly, the ego and just being like,
Yeah, it is the ego.
it's gonna work out. If whatever I have to do to
Yeah.
be financially okay, and maybe if finances aren't, the biggest issue, then
Right.
just know like it will work out. I will find my place. I gotta
Yeah.
focus, and I can do this. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's great advice. Okay, last question. On your podcast, the Office Latte Podcast, you interview a lot of thought leaders helping people live a healthy life in all areas of your life, financially, emotionally, physically. What do you think is one of the most important things in your job search journey that someone should focus on to stay strong and on track?
Okay. So I would say, have a wellness schedule. You know, you don't need a job search all day long. You can job search for an hour a day. You can job search for a half hour a day, but I would just keep a wellness schedule. So let's say you've got an hour planned, and let's just say you're unemployed. You know, make sure I mean, I know you hear this all the time, but make sure you're walking or getting some exercise in, getting outside, getting some fresh air. We actually have sun here today in Michigan. I'm just looking out there going, wow, it's brief. But when it's there, take it. Meet your friends for coffee or go to the gym or, run some errands every day. Get out of the house for a few minutes just to kind of reboot. The job search is going to be there tomorrow. Also, network. Start reaching out to people, reach out to old friends, reach out to neighbors, again, with the coffee thing, see if anybody wants to meet for coffee. Just letting people know. I mean, the number one way people get hired is through who they know. So you never know. I mean, I've been doing this 25 years. We've heard some of the craziest stories of how people have mentioned it to, their barber, there's somebody at a wedding, blah, blah, blah. And it turns into this whole conversation. The next thing you know, they're interviewing and they have a job. So you just never know. So keep letting people know. And that I would just say a wellness schedule and stick to it and have hope. And because you will find a job. Well, that was so fun, Summer. Everyone, thank you for listening. If you have questions, continue to send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com. We will, get through them as we can. Each week, we'll try to do more and more of these episodes to answer all of your questions. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. Erin Kennedy CPRW is my handle. And I'm on all the other socials. So actually just drop a question anywhere and Summer and I will find it. Okay, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for listening to the Office Latte Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Executive Resumes, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Office Latte Podcast. If you have any career questions or conversations you want us to talk about, send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com and we'll answer them in an upcoming show. Have a great week and stay caffeinated.